treatment for me, um, treatment for me ended the day before I signed 2 weeks ago. Um, I had a rare cell type of Hodgkin's lymphoma called NLPHL, nodular lymphatic predominant Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's about 3% of all diagnoses. Um, Basically, it was slow moving, not nearly as aggressive. Um, so I had to do a drip infusion for about 6 to 8 hours one day, probably a month and a half ago, and then from there, all the rest of my medication was fed in shots through my stomach. Um, but treatment wise, it looks like I'm all wrapped up, and I'll do a PET scan probably 3.5, 2.5 weeks from now, just to see how much the cancer's basically destabilized.
Do you feel like you're over the hump?
Certainly.
Was this something that, I've never been a cancer patient, I don't know, okay? Is this something that just, when you heard the news, did it floor you completely, or how did you take it?
Um, which news? The initial news?
Yes.
Of course. Uh, right. I'm just sitting there with Dr. John Amos, and he just starts to describe to me the different symptoms that I'm showing. Obviously, that primary symptom of having a enlarged lymph node in my left clavicle. I went home, cried. It was a really tough moment. Just there was so much stress that it kind of built up through the entire free agency process, and then all of that um, melted away into a huge, a completely different mountain that now had to be climbed. But we got over it and watched the film and decided to get it better.
Miles, what got you through it?
Um, Prayer and strength from family, friends. I had never been so contacted a day in my life, and that's just a credit to know good people, and more than 70% of them, the good people in this city. So I was shocked. I was honored, and it just gave me all that much more fight.
Was the nature of the treatment the kind of thing that maybe didn't tear your body down the way maybe chemo or radiation would?
To get it straight, my quality of life did not change. Um, I'll continue to fight this as long as I need to, and as many times as I need to fight this and then go back into remission, I will. And that'll be a life sentence for me. Um, but in terms of the struggle that I had to face was more mental than anything. Um, so the real heroes are the kids in the children's hospitals that are really fighting with real chemotherapy, real radiation. Um, those are the strong ones.
So you came out of it sort of like from a muscular standpoint, feeling okay, right?
Absolutely.
You talked about the mental side of it. Just how much easier has it been being here around family and friends, not having parents fly out to where you are? I mean, has that made it at least somewhat easier mentally on you?
I thought I could. There was a part of me that thought I could really just do it anywhere, and that was a bit of my ignorance. Um, it wasn't until I actually got here and I was actually doing like my second or third workout in this facility did I realize um, how much easier this was, and how grateful I was to this great organization for, you know, I don't want to say taking a risk, but it is what it is. Um, I'm blessed to be here, and I'm happy to be a Saint.
How much has this changed you?
That's a great question. Um, I don't know if it's changed me all that much, but um, mentally, I'm a lot more grateful waking up every day.
How much have you learned about cancer in general and over this? Because, I mean, personally, I wouldn't have known that you could get through it without chemo, like the different treatments and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely, my specific cancer, I've learned quite a bit, um, and it kind of was it's been a long couple months. I've learned a lot, and we had to do a lot to make sure that it was this rare cell type because we don't want to be haphazardous and waste time treating something that it isn't, right? So for me, it was an interesting journey. I've certainly learned a lot. I look forward to learning more. Um, it's just there's just so much out there that I didn't understand about it, but cancer initially was just the biggest knife in the heart that I could have possibly gotten.
Have you had a chance? I mean, obviously, a life-changing experience, but you grew up during what was the Saints' golden years here, Super Bowl breeze, a lot of great years. I mean, have you had a chance to celebrate coming home and being a part of this? I mean, not a lot of people get to be like a hero in their hometown.
I mean, hero's a big word. To me, honestly, I was just so taken back by all the love and support. Uh, I would have loved to have celebrated, and there's just I'm already a little behind the eight ball. There's just so much work to be done, to be honest. And that sounds like a real gritty football answer, but it's just the truth. There's a lot to do. I'm coming into a great room of exceptional players, young players, hungry players, and we're just excited to get the ball rolling.
With getting back on the football field and in a new system, how much did it at least help comfort-wise having Derek Carr back there?
The cadence was certainly a lot easier. There was some times today where I definitely struggled to get off the ball as fast as I wanted to. Not too many of those times really happened with Derek, just because I know when he's snapping the ball. And other than that, it's fun. Routes on air. I'm gonna run a basic cross, and just hearing that familiar face, like, hey, I got off. Like, that's pretty fun, right? It's pretty fun.
Is there any
a little bit about the translation, sort of the language translation from the Raiders offense to the Saints offense? How's that process been for you so far in the years?
I've Google translated pretty well. There's definitely a lot more detail that I need to pick up on so far. But Clancy Brown, he's an excellent tight ends coach. He's been a great coach in this league for a long time, and he's doing a real good job of helping me out with it. Certainly.
Is it helpful in that range to have guys like Derek as well as Brian Edwards who are kind of doing the same translation?
In a way, yeah. And there's some similar verbiage. I'm just taking it one day at a time.
Is there any concern from you that you can physically get through an entire season?
Not an ounce. No, I'll be just fine.
Foster, when you got the diagnosis, you shared it pretty openly on social media in a very positive context. Can you just kind of walk us through your mindset about how you were going to share the news publicly?
Sure. And that's a good question. But I really just wanted to address it by my own terms, right? I wanted to get the news out, and so it didn't come from a leak. But I had some really strong voices and some helpful people kind of let me know that it's probably about that time, and it was beneficial for me to get that news out, just get it out of the way. Cleared up any free agency drama, rumor, mist, fog that there could have been, and just taking that step back from this game that we all love was important for me.
Obviously, the free agency process was a bit kind of confusing with everything that happened. Was this a place you wanted to come initially? Was this always kind of the plan for you?
It was an option, certainly. Honestly, I hadn't given it too much thought. I tried to go in with as much of an open mind as I wanted to, and I've said this before. I wanted to be a one club player, to be perfectly honest. I didn't want free agency to really even be a thing for me. I thought that was, the guys that I always looked up to, the guys that I really respected, were always the guys that stuck it out with the guys that took a chance on them from the beginning. Loyalty is a major trait for anyone in this business, and that's something that I always wanted to show. But just the reception of loyalty based on absolutely no performance that I've ever given for anyone in this building, the respect that they showed me, it spoke volumes. It really did.
I know, I think my memory serves me correct. I'm sorry. I think you were like 82 at Jesuit. Is that coincidence or just design here?
I'd like to think it's probably just coincidence. I never wrote down a number. Um, you know, they all count. They all count the same, regardless of whatever digit you're wearing. So I'm happy to be here. Happy to wear black and gold.
You were the
That, welcome home, by the way. I mean, a lot of us covered you at LSU too, as well as you. But do you think that what you've gone through with your health affected or increased the chances in any way that you would wind up signing with this particular team?
You know, the day after the diagnosis, the day after the physical, my agent got a call from Mickey Loomis, and he said, "Hey, we're still interested in him. We still value him as a player, and even more as a person." And you know, again, back to speaking volumes. That was so comforting for me, knowing that regardless of where I went through this process, um, there was a real good chance I wind up here, and that was just going to be a really cool experience for me, and it is, and I definitely don't take it for granted.
And before the health issues, when you were considering the Saints, were there any considerations about the pitfalls of coming back to where you played in high school and around everybody and close to college and all that stuff?
Sure, that's a great question, and you know, in terms of pitfalls, I've gotten away for long enough to appreciate where I'm from, in a way. That maybe if I had been taken out of LSU straight here, maybe it could have been a different story. I'm appreciative to be here, and I don't see too many pitfalls coming before me. Thank you, though.
You were the last guy with an offer from LSU on signing day, and now you're here. Did you think this was going to be part of your narrative way back when?
You know, back then and back then I probably looked a little too much in the telescope, more than I wanted to. Probably looked to the future a lot more than I should have been. And that was certainly something on my radar. That have been just an unbelievable thing. You know, I know these streets well. I love these people. It's just anyone who's from here can speak to it. There's something special about this city. There's a different life in these streets, other than the potholes. But it's definitely it's a humbling experience, back then and still now.
Obviously, Tyron kind of did the same thing last year. Have you got a chance to talk to him at all about that?
Not much, not too much. But you know, Tyron's an exceptional player, has been for a long time. Not too much to say.
I don't know if you thought this far ahead, but have you thought about like just running out the dome for the first time, in the city you grew up in? Have you thought about that?
You know, I've run out the dome. I've run out to the dome a couple of times. The last time I didn't go so well for us. Went, pretty well for you guys. But the time before that was pretty good. The time before that, pretty good as well. That'll be exciting. I just look forward to playing well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good. We're good.
Your early impressions on Juwan Johnson. I know you worked with another great tight end like Darren Waller. Sort of, you see any similarities or things that you like about Juwan as a teammate?
I can't speak too much for Juwan. I could speak a little bit on him. I think he's an exceptional leader, first and foremost. I think he takes it extremely serious, especially in this off-season training program. He knows this is the time to get better. And I look forward to him being an invaluable resource for me and my development. I think he's a really good player. Sure.
Just with Derek Carr, we haven't really covered him yet in the game. Were there any particular character or athletic traits that you found interesting or took away from your previous 4 years with him?
Derek is he's always kept a level head, and he's always been very respectful of the people that he's played with and the people that he's played under. Always has done it the right way, and has taken every opportunity to make sure that he leaves everything out on the field. He's a world-class teammate and an unbelievable human being, certainly.
said the same thing basically about you.
He's a nice guy.
Thanks.
Thanks,
guys.
Foster.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.